serious, what are some dark secrets about regular life that people should know? Your workplace is not your friend. The employee who dishes with you about all the other employees most likely talks about you to other people too. So watch what you say to that person. Bonding over disliked co-workers can cause you to let your guard down. You don't get what you deserve. Someone once said to me, "You get what you get. And what you get will never be what you deserve." It was after I had just done some good then got shitty on for it. But I realized years later he was talking about malicious attitudes never getting their comeuppance. Throw away for obvious reasons. I hit a smallish lottery, few mil, a little while back and told absolutely no one. Family and friends included. I took a bunch of steps to secure my kids' futures and we live a very comfortable but not lavish life. I'm pretty generous with the people around me. I think that they just think I'm doing very well career-wise, or something illegal under the table. I justify it by thinking that if this was general knowledge amongst friends and family it would ruin relationships. My priority needed to be my kids. In Europe, if you win the lottery, you maintain your anonymity. Why the US publishes the name of lottery winners is beyond my comprehension. That's the smartest thing you can do. I'm not sure if I would be able to do it. I feel like I would at least pay off all loans and debt of my parents and brother with the money. But I don't see how I could do that without telling about the lottery winnings. Maybe only do it when there's an immediate need. Like if they are about to lose the house or whatever. Yo, I am suffering through this now. Love of my life for 10 years called it quits. I realized she was my only support system. I have one close personal friend who I can turn to. And we are dudes, so emotional support is limited from him. My parents are not overly helpful. They have been fairly emotionally distant and really only want to help me by telling me how I need to protect my assets and such. You know who I would turn to when emotionally hurt? My wife. She was in so many ways the core of my world. Now I have to figure out how to keep that world from imploding without its core. Learn to be happy with yourself and on your own. Edit. I just wanted to thank everyone for their kind words and encouragement. It's so funny how much some random people I don't know can help me feel less lonely with just some kind words. Sometimes the internet can be a good thing. A decade friendship was burned and I was ghosted due to political views. On my part, I did not realize her political views were that extreme. Or that she clearly thought so little of me. Oh well. On the other hand, I have another decade friendship that is just so easy and comfortable. When I imagine the next 10 years, regardless of what we are doing with our lives, we still will be talking to each other. Sometimes people just click regardless of life changes. Friendships are fragile. Most have a convenience factor, go to school together, work together, live near each other, and once that's gone the friendship becomes much less important. As you age, work, family, and spouses demand more of your time and there's less left for friends. It doesn't mean you care less, but without effort you'll lose those friendships. Often one half of the friendship is more willing to put the work in than the other. And that can sustain the relationship or lead to bitterness. Cancerous cells form in your body on a regular basis. But your immune system recognizes the cancerous cells and kills them. Usually. Edit. I should not only your immune system, but the cells themselves can detect hazardous mutations and undergo programmed cell death. Basically cellular suicide. You can be going along, enjoying your life thinking you've got it all figured out. And boom. In a matter of minutes it can all go to hell. And everything you believe to be true, and the future you imagined for yourself will be gone. And just because you do everything right, doesn't necessarily mean you get what you want. I ran a non-profit for a while and thought that the non-profit community would be pretty great. Because aren't we all trying to do good things? Oof. The non-profit world is home to some of the most ruthless and cold-hearted bastards I've ever come across. Particularly when it comes to competing for funding. There are no friends among non-profits and charities. Same. It really surprised me. Non-profit work is extremely cutthroat on the high end. These same people that get on TV and talk about all the great work they're doing would beat you with a chain and use it to secure you to a train track. Then watch as the train hits just to make sure you die. They're also paid very lucratively. Being a good employee at work and having an agreeable, friendly personality will get you further than being a great employee with a poor personality. Yes, I'm an example of this. I'm generally likable and make people laugh. I'm probably pretty good at my job, but I know people who are better. The world doesn't owe you anything. Sometimes you can do everything right but still not make it. It is possible to Cometano Mr. Kess and still lose. That is not a weakness. That is life. The funeral industry is just like the wedding industry. The funeral industry is an absolute racket. They hose people experiencing deep and unrelenting grief by subtly guilting them that if they don't spend more money, they didn't truly care about their deceased loved one. When my friend passed away at 23, his family, who had a lot of money and not a lot of healthy coping skills, ended up spending an exorbitant amount on his funeral. They got upsold on a casket that cost thousands, which was only for the viewing. Jewelry made of his ashes. Weird art made of his handprints. They easily spent as much as a wedding. It was grotesque watching the way they got rinsed because they were mourning and didn't have the emotional fortitude to consider what was happening in the moment. My grandmother worked at a funeral home for a short time when she was young. She was disgusted at the practices the funeral industry used to take as much from a grieving family as possible. She made me promise to lie to the funeral home when she died and say she didn't have any insurance. In her experience, they would find ways to get every dime of the insurance money if they knew about it. The celebrities that you crave to emulate get a lot of the stuff for free. They are just breathing billboards. Stop putting yourself into debt for them. At the end of the day, just like money, you can't take it with you. You can't take it with you. I love the way Germans say this. It translates to your last shirt has no pockets. Double quote. Nobody said being an adult would be this lonely. I'm a 26-year-old female. Relatively attractive. Sociable, and I take pride in how kind I am. But it doesn't matter. People are busy and making the friendship connection is so much harder as an adult than it was growing up. And it was f-king hard growing up, lol. I have about 3 friends total I can go to for anything. On the upside, my familial relations have improved greatly as an adult. We were broken growing up but now are all in a good place in life and with each other. You are never done growing. Or shouldn't be anyway. When I was younger I thought growing up was a thing that happened. Then you are a fully complete adult. Nope. You never stop figuring it out. Learning and growing. The thing you realize as you get older is that there is no moment when you are an adult. I still feel like the same person I did in my 20s. Yes. I know more about things and have more experience, but the person inside is the same. It's something I try and explain to people younger than me whenever it comes up. Like, there is no magic moment. You're just the same but older. Ignorance really is bliss. You probably were better off not knowing. Whoever said to have loved and have lost is better than to never have loved at all is an asshole. No, it's much better to be ignorant. I was much better off before I ever found it. People hold grudges. Especially in professional settings. Treat everyone with respect whether you respect them or not. An older co-worker once told me be careful who you piss on the way up. Because they will piss on you on the way down. I watched it happen firsthand to my boss, who was pushed out. So many women you know have been sexually assaulted. And so many keep it a secret and choose not to disclose it. The statistic is 1/3, but it feels like a lot more when you all start talking about it and everyone can relate to being sexually assaulted in some way. Men too. This. I don't know why, but I'm good at earning people's trust, and something that is very common when I meet women and have them as friend is that they always tell me their secrets, and most of the time, if not all the time tbh, there is always a story about either sexual assault or body shaming. Is this the correct term? Is when people mock a girl or boy because of their body. I even know a case of pedophilia and the fucker who did it. It's still out there and it pisses me off. 100%. I'm terrified of this because I'm a 19-year fairly attractive female, although attraction doesn't necessarily make you more likely to be a victim, and I haven't been physically assaulted yet thankfully, but I was homeschooled so I wasn't around as many people. I'm not in school right now either. Just working in customer service to save money, but there's a co-worker whose wife divorced him for domestic reasons and he always tries to mess with the other females and I'm scared he'll try with me next. I think the only reason he hasn't made any moves yet is because I'm his supervisor so I have authority. As well as the fact that I'm at least a decade younger than him. But still I don't like being in the same room alone with him. Bullies are not just in middle school. They are everywhere. A lot of them are also the nicest people ever. Who would never do anything awful to anyone. My case for a while now. It doesn't matter what terrible things they do. Every lie they tell is true. Your whole life can change in just 2 seconds. Disabilities can just happen. Also nobody really cares. But you. We are born alone in the world and we all die alone. We are born alone in the world. I can tell you've never been to a birth other than your own, which you obviously don't remember. Human births rarely occur without a mother present. The saying is naked I came into this world, and naked I will leave. I was driving to school one morning. Driving through an intersection. Absolutely normal everything. Then, out of the corner of my eye, I realize this person is about to collide with me. My last memory is of trying to swerve. Then everything went black and I heard the horrific sound of crushing, rending, crashing metal. When I woke up, I was about to begin a recovery that would take over a year of physical therapy. That accident probably took place over the course of 5 or less seconds. You will never know where you are going in life. 5 years ago, I had no idea that I'd be where I am now. I have no idea where I'll be in another 5 years. Just taking my time to enjoy the adventure. Money and connections talk more than anything in life. It blows my mind the shitty people get away with for having money or knowing a friend of a friend. Sadly, I neither want tons of money. Seriously though, can't we all just have enough to live comfortably? Who the hell needs millions of money? Close bracket. Or want to suck up to people and be fake or owe people favors and such. I'm failing at life. You never really know if the person you are talking to is desperately holding in the urge to stab you in the throat. Some people are just good actors. Just like a Reddit comment that blows up. So much success for so many people often has little to do with talent or experience and more to do with timing and luck. Here's a rule of life. You don't get to pick what bad things happen to you. So Rory Miller. Meditations on Violence. A comparison of martial arts training and real-world violence. Your job doesn't care about you. At all. Some of the people you work with might. But if you died they'd replace you in a heartbeat. And after a couple months you won't come up in conversation. Take care of yourself, your family, and your friends over the company you work for. This cannot be stressed enough. Putting your everything into a job is just stupid. You can. And sooner or later, will be replaced. Your spouse hopefully only has you, and if you're working all the time you can get replaced. Nobody else is going to be mom or dad to your kids. Act accordingly. When you get diagnosed with Alzheimer's, your brain is already mostly mush. The disease has been ravaging your brain for at least 20 years before you started noticing it. You also probably exhibited symptoms for the past 5-10 years, but they were super mild and no one, including you, paid attention. One of those early symptoms can be mood swings, depression, and the loss of the sense of smell. There is no hope left for you at that point. The main research against Alzheimer's or any neurodegenerative disease is to act years before the first symptoms, when your brain still is relatively healthy. You showing symptoms mean that your brain cannot compensate for the degeneration and it will go downward from now. You will most likely be average. You won't win the lottery. You will not become famous. There is nothing special about you. And there is nothing wrong with it. Billions of people are just average and lead average lives. It keeps the world turning, and that can be fulfilling on its own. Most children dream of being discovered or doing something great, but less than 1% of those children really become anything. I've decided to lean into it and become the most average person out there and just try to be as comfortable I can be until the end. The rare earth elements required to make your phone work were probably mined in Africa by little more than slaves working for warlords. If you're a Westerner, pretty much all of your material wealth is more or less at the expense of the third world. Colonialism didn't die. It was just papered over. That you can be the bad guy in other people's lives. You can try and rationalize your actions to try and make yourself feel better. But sometimes the sad reality is that you make poor decisions that hurt others. I don't believe it necessarily makes you a bad person in general. But you do have to accept when you've messed up and realize that you're the bad guy. PTSD is a real thing. You would be surprised how many people think it's bullshit. I would say that a lot of people just cannot comprehend PTSD or mental health illness in general. I grew up with my mother who has PTSD, and I never understood even an inkling of it. Even though I was empathetic and was best friends with my mom my whole life. She has told me more than anyone about what it's like and what her life has been like. Now I'm 23 and diagnosed with PTSD, and it is truly something that's hard to comprehend without living it firsthand. Obviously, as time goes by, society will grow with understanding of mental illness. I'm glad you posted this though. We as a general populace need to be discussing these sort of issues. It's annoying when people say, "Oh, you're depressed? Just work out and eat better." Double quote.